SWG Legends introduced a new creature taming system in May 2022. This system allows players to tame wild creatures for use as decoration in player structures, generating familiars, or ranching the creatures to produce creature resources, like milk and hide, passively. While the process of taming creatures will remind experienced players of the old creature handler system, you cannot use tamed creatures in combat. Incubating, hatching, and raising beasts via the Beast Mastery system is still required to create and use creatures for combat. Before you can start taming creatures, your character must meet two requirements. They must have at least one expertise point invested in the Beast Mastery skill tree, and at least 1 point of the Creature Knowledge stat. Creature Knowledge can be gained from pieces of equipment in the game including the Minder Gloves of Creature Knowledge, Subduer's Necklace, Tamer's Necklace, and Master Taming Necklace. Creature Knowledge points also reveal information about a creature when examining it in the wild. A Creature Knowledge score of 1 shows the same information as a score of 8. 9 or more points reveals more information about a creature on examination. Having the maximum Creature Knowledge points available, 11, doesn't reveal any more information than having 9. Combining the Minder Gloves of Creature Knowledge and Tamer's Necklace is the easiest way to reach 9 points of Creature Knowledge. Completing the Minder of Weak Wills collection by defeating the boss 10 times in the Exarchune Heroic will reward the character with the Minder Gloves of Creature Knowledge. The Tamer's Necklace can be created using the Chu Gondar Cube by combining a dimly glowing bone, warmly glowing skull, and a few warmly glowing splinters. The bone can be found by defeating the Stormlord, while AK Prime and GK Oppressor drop the scroll and splinters in the HK-47 instance. The Master Taming Necklace can get you over 9 creature knowledge on its own, but one of the glowing items required to create the item drops from Doombringer in the Operational Droid Factory instance. This instance is difficult to tackle alone, making the warmly glowing mag seal detector a costly item to procure. Players want to note that creature knowledge points are not the same as the Beast Mastery ability, Creature Knowledge, or the ability acquisition bonus found in the Beast Mastery skill tree. The Creature Knowledge ability isn't required to tame creatures, and the ability acquisition bonus won't affect creature taming. While your character can now start taming creatures, you'll want to collect a few more things before heading out. One part of the taming process is feeding wild creatures when they're hungry. Creatures will either want to eat a type of creature meat or flora resource. Feeding them a food opposite of their preference will negatively impact the taming process. Each feeding interaction will consume 250 units of the resource you fed the creature. Resources with higher potential energy ratings will speed up the taming process as the creature will find them more delicious. As a minimum, I recommend carrying at least 5,000 units of a creature meat and 5,000 units of a flora resource, both having a potential energy rating of 700 or higher, before you set out looking for a creature to tame. This will ensure that you don't run out of food before the tame is complete. Lastly, if the creature you're trying to tame is aggressive, as indicated by the red name it has, you'll want to acquire a camo kit for the planet you're taming the creature on. Camo kits will deter the creature you're taming from initiating combat with you while the kit remains active. While optional for low-level NPCs, you'll need camo kits to tame higher-level creatures like the ones found on Dathomir, Mustafar, and Yavin 4. Camo kits are crafted by domestic traders using creature resources related to the planet the camo kit is for. Creatures that can be tamed will have the word baby in parentheses in their name. Babies have the chance of appearing in any wild creature spawn on the planet. Babies do not have a chance to spawn from layers generated via mission terminals. This means you'll need to hop on your speeder and travel around the world to find the baby you want to tame. Once you find a creature you want to tame, target the baby and open the radial menu. Selecting the tame option when you're less than 10 meters from the baby will begin the taming process. You'll want to stay within roughly 60 meters of the baby to receive system messages related to the tame. If you move outside this range and miss a message, you'll need to guess what kind of interaction the baby wanted next. The system message, "The animal seems scared, try to calm it and get its attention," means that the character needs to have the baby targeted and perform a specific emote to raise the baby's taming status. The emote you need to perform depends on the creature's personality, which you can find by examining the baby. If your creature knowledge is too low to determine its personality, you'll need to try different emotes until you find one it responds positively to. A baby who is cautious will respond positively to the emote /tickle. A curious baby will be happy with /pet, and a nervous baby needs /calm. Other emotes, like /hug for a curious baby, may also work, but tickle, pet, and calm will cover all personality types. your character usually needs to be within 4 meters of the baby for the emote to successfully register. This range may decrease if the baby is on a slope, so if you see the system message, "the animal is too far away to see you, move closer," or no system message at all, make sure you have the baby targeted and try to get closer before attempting the emote again. When the taming status has reached 30% or higher, you will start to receive prompts to feed the baby. You can determine the baby's favorite food by examining the creature. Again, if your creature knowledge is too low to see this information, you'll have to guess which food the baby accepts. If you don't have the baby's favorite food, it will accept any food that shares the same overarching type. For example, if the baby's favorite food is fruit, it will accept any flora resource as food. If the baby's favorite food is domesticated meat, it will accept any other kind of meat. You can feed a baby by opening your inventory window, clicking, and then dragging the resource onto the baby. If the feeding was registered, you'll see a message telling you 250 units of the resource was consumed and the baby's opinion of the food. The animal scarfs down the food ferociously is the highest opinion a baby can give of your food, with the animal eagerly snatches the food being the next highest. Player characters need to be roughly 7 meters or less from the baby to feed it. You can attempt to domesticate a creature once its taming status reaches 80%, with a 30% chance of successful domestication. At 90%, the success rate increases to 60%. At 100% taming status, your chance to domesticate the creature is also 100%. To domesticate a creature, open the radio menu on the baby you've been taming and select the domesticate option. Using the incorrect emote or feeding the baby a food it dislikes will decrease its taming status, but won't cause you to fail the tame. Similarly, the taming status cannot be decreased below 0%. However, there are 4 situations that will cause a tame to fail. When prompted for an interaction, the player character has 4 minutes to respond to the baby's request. If the baby doesn't receive attention from the tamer in that time, the taming process will end. The tamer will receive a warning that the baby is losing interest when there is roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds left before the tame fails due to the lack of tamer interaction. The taming process may abruptly end if the tamer slays other creatures while taming. Luckily, the tamer can reinitiate the tame starting at 0% if they fail in these first 2 scenarios. The same can't be said for the next 2 situations. Allowing a baby to despawn from the world will end the taming process and prevent the player from reinitiating the tame. The most common reasons a baby despawns is due to player inactivity in its spawn area, and creatures who are members of its spawn being defeated. Creatures will completely despawn from a world when there is no player less than roughly 1,000 meters from the creature's spawn. The creature spawn will persist, but the creatures populated by it might change. For example, here is a canoid hunter baby found in the remote wild. When I moved 1,100 meters away from it and returned, it was replaced with a regular canoid hunter. When there is no layer present, slaying wild creatures who share the baby spawn may cause the baby to despawn. For example, if you find a herd of roaming humbaba and slay some of the members of the herd, it could cause the remaining members of the group to disappear. Similarly, destroying a creature's associated lair may cause it to despawn too. Lastly, slaying the baby will also cause the players to fail the tame without a chance to reinitiate. While there are only a few requirements to start taming creatures, there are multiple ways players can increase their taming bonus to reduce the amount of time and resources it takes to domesticate a baby. As mentioned earlier, the potential energy rating of a resource determines how much a baby will like a specific food, so the higher the potential energy rating, the better. Matching the baby's favorite food exactly will also result in greater gains in taming status per feeding interaction. If you want to cover every possible favorite food and maximize your taming gains, you want to collect the following assortment of meats and flora at the indicating potential energy rating. Note that domesticated and herbivore meat come recommended at 600 potential energy or greater instead of 900 like the other resources. This is because domesticated and herbivore meat reaches their maximum potential energy rating at 700 points instead of 1000, so any rating above 600 is considered excellent. Matching the creature's favorite food provides a greater taming bonus than the raw potential energy value, so you still want to use domesticated and herbivore meat when applicable. Having a Beastmaster pet present while taming will provide a taming bonus. The beast's level, mood, and skills won't affect the taming bonus, so an untrained level 1 beast is just as valuable as a level 90 in terms of taming bonus. Entering the command /kneel or /prone before using an emote to interact with the baby will provide a small taming bonus. This bonus doesn't apply when feeding creatures. The food buff Almond Quevu Crisp Crunchies will nearly double your taming rate. You want to get them from a domestic trader before heading out, as they'll significantly reduce the time you spend taming creatures. The examination window can present tamers with up to 7 pieces of information related to taming and ranching. The first is type, which matches the baby's name and refers to the exact version of the creature you're taming. For example, a bull bantha is a different type of bantha than a dwarf bantha. The baby's favorite food and the kinds of resources it can produce are dependent on its type. Favorite food refers to the resource the baby would prefer to be fed while being tamed and actively ranched. Matching the baby's preference will provide a taming bonus, and meeting its food requests while ranching can improve its resource production. A baby's personality can be cautious, curious, or nervous. Responding to its cries for attention with an appropriate emote will increase the taming status. This personality trait carries over into ranching, where showing your creature the same attention helps to improve the creature's resource production. Domestication value is the score the tamer must approach in order to domesticate the baby. The higher the domestication value, the longer it will take to attempt to domesticate a creature. Personally, I have never seen a domestication value below 3,000 or greater than 13,000. I consider values less than 9,000 to be quick tames, taking 4 to 6 minutes on average with optimized taming bonuses. Values above 9,000 I consider to be long tames, typically taking at least 6 minutes optimally with no outside interruptions. It is rare for an uninterrupted tame to take longer than 10 minutes, but may occur if you're not getting a lot of feeding interactions, your food has low potential energy, or the food doesn't match the creature's favorite food. Taming status refers to the tamer's current progress towards domesticating the baby. In other words, taming status is a percentage representation of the player's progress towards meeting the creature's domestication value. Currently, taming status cannot be viewed as a whole number. The player will receive an update showing the current taming status of the baby after each interaction. Chance to domesticate is the tamer's current odds of successfully domesticating the baby. Once the taming status reaches 80%, the tamer will have a 30% chance to domesticate the creature. The tamer's chance to domesticate the baby can increase up to 100% when the taming status reaches 100%. Resource information refers to the creature resources the baby can produce when actively ranched. This information can include the type of milk the creature produces and the quantity of milk, hide, meat, and bone a player can expect when the creature is actively ranched. If a resource quantity is missing from the examination window, this means the creature won't produce that resource. For example, this crazed Guruk doesn't produce milk or bone resources, so their quantities are missing from the window. If you're looking to ranch a specific resource, you can use SWG pets to quickly find the types of creatures that produce it. Tameable creatures produce the same resources as their wild counterparts. Keep in mind that not every type of creature may be tameable, so your options could be more limited than what's listed on SWG pets. An actively ranched creature produces the same resources currently in spawn on the planet they were tamed on. There are methods to change the amount of resources they produce and which planet they're producing resources for, but that won't be covered in this video as that's specific to ranching. Once the baby is domesticated, a player can learn more useful information about the creature. First, all of the exact resource types are now listed so a player can quickly determine what hide, meat, and bone the creature may produce. Planet indicates which planet the resources produced will belong to. For example, this Bordock will produce milk, hide, meat, and bone from Endor when actively ranched. Variation of refers to the appearance the creature type has. For example, a dire cat is a variation of a Narglach. There are many different types of creatures across the galaxy, but many share the same variation. So if you're having a hard time finding Camerats on Dathomir, you should try taming Vortider lizards on Dantooine. Lifespans refer to how long the creature will live when actively ranched. Creatures kept in inventories, vendors, houses, or set as display animals on ranches won't age. Lastly, tamed by will display the name of the player character who originally tamed the creature. Unlike taming, creating a familiar doesn't require any expertise points to be invested in the Beast Mastery tree. Any player can visit the creature handler outside the Kachiro Starport Gate and pay 1 million credits to convert any domesticated creature in their inventory to a familiar. When converted, the creature is removed from your inventory and placed in the data section of your datapad. Familiars can only be transferred between characters via the trade window. Familiars cannot be listed on vendors. On creation, a familiar is randomly assigned 2 stats. When summoned by a player, the familiar will provide a 40-point increase in each of the stats it was generated with. If the familiar is stored, the buff will last for 1 more hour or until the player enters a loading screen. Like mounts, familiars cannot be summoned during combat. A familiar can provide a buff for any single combination of Constitution, Stamina, Strength, Precision, Agility, and Luck. While they share the same ratio as attachments for armor and clothing, camouflage and block value cannot appear on familiars. A single stat cannot appear more than once, so you can't have plus 80 to strength for example, and exotic modifiers, like pistol damage, aren't available for familiars either. Currently, there's no way to influence the outcome of or change a familiar's buff. The familiar's appearance also cannot be altered. In my time with the system, I've generated over 70 familiars, selling roughly half of those and giving away the rest at novice player events. For those wondering how popular certain buffs are in the community, I've created a popularity tier list for your review. S tier represents the most sought after buff, while C tier is the least desirable. Any buff with stamina present is significantly less desirable than any other combination. The only stamina combinations with any desirability are Constitution plus Stamina, for those looking to maximize health and action pools, and Luck plus Stamina for crafters looking for the cheapest luck buff. Some players will purchase familiars regardless of the buff, if they're looking for a creature to fill a roleplay or aesthetic need, but I wouldn't count on that as a stable source of income. After doing it myself, I don't recommend making familiars a primary part of your business. At 1 million credits a familiar, it is easy to get a bad string of buffs and end up in the red. Instead, I suggest selling domesticated creatures and encouraging other players to take the 1 million credit dice roll themselves. The following section is advice other players in the community have shared or tactics I've come up with that help me find and tame creatures. While most of the advice is actionable by any player, some strategies will be specific to certain professions and styles of play. The most widely applicable tips are presented first, with more niche ones being toward the end of the video. Oftentimes, the greatest challenge in taming is knowing where to look for the creature you're hoping to tame. While the planets are vast, we can make informed decisions on where to search by understanding how the world is organized. In short, each planet is split into different zones. Zones may have a list of wild encounters that can occur inside their area, different from other zones on the planet. Sometimes, you don't have to travel to the other side of the planet to see these differences. For example, this area of the Dune Sea may have different possible encounters than this area east of Wayfar. While traveling around the planets, you'll want to note which types of creatures you see where, so the next time you're out hunting, you'll be able to find specific creatures easier. Some zones have special rules set that you can leverage to your benefit. For example, the immediate wild area surrounding the giant Decay-mite cave on Talos exclusively spawns Decay-mites, a variation of bark mites, and their lairs. This makes it an excellent place to stock up on creatures who produce scaly hide and insect meat. Mustafar's lava flows carve defined regions out of the planet, making searching for specific tameable creatures easier than most other worlds. The difficulty lies with luring babies away from their high-level and usually aggressive packmates. Kashyyyk is unique in that all of its spawns appear to be static. This means that if you see a sat hog spawning near a bridge, then sat hogs will always spawn in that spot. This also applies to the many instances around the planet like the hunting grounds and dead forest. Note that not all Kashyykan creatures are tameable. The SWG Legends developers have stated that they intend to make more creatures available over time, so if you really want an Uwari beetle familiar, you'll have to hold out hope for the future. Beastmaster pets should be set to passive while taming and be told to stay a distance away while taming a baby. Pets set to defensive or hit by a creature's area of effect attack during combat may accidentally slay the baby you're working to tame. The tamer's proximity to their pet doesn't matter. As long as the pet is summoned, the taming bonus will be active. If you accidentally attack a non-aggressive baby, it will turn aggressive, or adopt a red name, towards your player character. You'll either need to use a camo kit to continue the tame, or wait a few minutes for the baby to calm down and become non-aggressive again. Grouping up with other players is an effective way of boosting your odds of finding a baby from a wild encounter. Larger groups of players cause more NPCs to spawn from each encounter. This also includes wild lairs, which will spawn more creatures before its destruction. Pinata bashing is the phrase I use to describe the process of attacking wild lairs in the hopes of spawning a baby. If you're looking for a specific creature, I highly recommend knocking lairs the creature can potentially spawn from to maximize your odds of finding it in the wild. If you don't have a specific target in mind, then I suggest passing lairs by in favor of scanning more creature spawns faster. Tamers cannot use emotes to interact with babies during combat. This means if the baby needs attention, you'll have to find a way to drop combat before you can progress the tame. However, this restriction doesn't apply to feeding prompts. If you're unlucky enough to find yourself in combat while taming, but receive a prompt to feed the baby, you can still progress the tame while being mauled. You will need to exit combat in order to attempt domesticating the creature. A character's death won't cause a tame to fail. As long as you can interact with the creature within 4 minutes of its most recent interaction request, and the creature doesn't despawn, you'll be able to continue the taming session. I've leveraged this knowledge when taming more dangerous creatures, like Chemogillas, to reduce my number of failed tame attempts by making sure other characters are nearby the baby to prevent it from despawning while I clone and travel back. Avoiding the need to clone altogether is a much better option than having to race the interaction timer in the first place. One way players do this is by remaining mounted while taming a creature. While this eliminates the taming bonus you receive for kneeling and having a Beastmaster pet present, it will allow you to escape danger faster and hopefully end combat sooner. The pet and run strategy is less appealing to professions with an ability to disengage from combat. For example, Jedis have Mind Trick and Combat Force Cloak as means to immediately end combat. If your profession isn't blessed with similar abilities, then you'll want to hire your local smuggler to have Camouflage Ally ready to help you escape from the more dangerous creatures. To make finding tameable creatures easier, I've started a resource for the community that aims to eventually list all tameable creatures and locations where you might be able to find them. A link to the Google Sheet is in the description of this video. Currently, that's everything you need to know and more regarding the unique creature taming system of SWG Legends. If you have any questions, your own taming tips to share, or want to let the world know why Guff Drogs are the best and should be featured in the next season of The Mandalorian, please do so in the comments. If you found this video helpful and would like to see more content similar to this, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching this far. If you want to see me tame some critters or chat with me, follow me over on Twitch where I stream SWG Legends multiple times a week. Until next time, stay hungry.